Good meowing guys, gals, zimmies, and YouTube catters. Well, with Blazing Dominion right around the corner, as well as brand new cards and a surely we get a ban list to shake up the meta as well. I have been hard at work, hard in the kitchen, hard in the lab. Wait a minute. I have been hard at work cooking up what I would say is the most competitive build for whiteforest going forward in the Blazing Dominion and Chaos Origins Nationals format that we're going to be entering very soon. And dare I say, unbeatable deck list for whiteforest. Remember, if you enjoyed this video or found it helpful in any way, or if you have any questions or concerns, let me know down in the comments below. And while you're there, remember to like, subscribe, all that good YouTube stuff. So how we're going to dominate the upcoming Blazing Dominion meta with whiteforest? Well, let me introduce to you Elfnotes. So if you have not seen my previous videos on Elfnote whiteforest, let me give you a brief little rundown of what each of the Elfnotes do inside the engine and how it's complementary to whiteforest. Elfnotes are a level 6 spellcaster archetype in which every single Elfnote except for Elfnote Regina, which we'll be getting in Blazing Dominion, can special summon themselves from the hand to the center main monster zone as an inherent special summon. Then once they're on their field, each Elfnote has an effect during your main phase. Elfnote Lucina can add another Elfnote monster from your deck to your hand, except Elfnote Lucina. Tinia places an Elfnote continuous spell. And then Elfnote Fortuna places an Elfnote continuous trap. Now, during your opponent's turn, each Elfnote has a form of interaction or disruption on a quick effect by switching the locations of that card and whatever monster is in your center main monster zone. So Elfnote Lucina bounces a level 6 or lower monster the opponent controls back to the hand. Tinia gets to banish face up a random card from your opponent's hand until end phase, so a minor little hand rip. And Elfnote Fortuna gets to bounce a spell or trap on the field to the hand. In Blazing Dominion, we are going to get our fourth Elfnote in Elfnote Regina, a level 6 wind spellcaster. And this one actually does have the effect to special summon itself on a quick effect. You can send one other Elfnote card from your hand or face up field to the graveyard, special summon this card from your hand. If this card is normal or special summon to the center main monster zone, you can special summon one Elfnote monster from your deck except Elfnote Regina. If this card is sent to the graveyard as synchro material, you can then add this card back to your hand. So a mini hand trap for the Elfnote archetype that during our opponent's turn lets us special summon out any one of our other Elfnote monsters like our Lucina. So now we can switch the positions of Regina and Lucina to get that level 6 or lower bounce, or the Tinia to hand rip the opponent, or again that Fortuna to bounce the spell trap to the hand. During our turn, Elfnote Regina can also just special summon the level 1 tuner for the deck, Elfnote Power Patron. And Elfnote Power Patron, aside from being the level 1 tuner for the deck to let you go into 7s very easily for the deck, also has the main phase quick effect that you can target one monster in your center main monster zone, increase its level by 3 until the end of this turn. Then immediately after this effect resolves, you can synchro summon one Elfnote synchro monster or Genora, the Power Patron of tuning. Very important to note that it says you can, meaning it's not mandatory. So if you want to go into a level 10 that's not a Elfnote synchro monster, you can go quick effect to level modulate during your turn, make the Elfnote Power Patron a level 3 or make your other Elfnote monster a level 9. And then you can synchro after the card effect resolves into any level 10. So in the OCG, they go into, of course, Baron to Floor. But here in the TCG, we do have some other level 10 synchro options to go into with as well. Then if this card is sent to the graveyard as synchro material, you can add one Elfnote card from your deck to your hand. So real fast before we get into the deck list, let's go over quickly the strengths and weaknesses of Elfnotes and why we are choosing to run it with whiteforest. First and foremost, the strengths of Elfnotes, because they're all inherent special summons. We don't have to use our normal summon. We can save our normal summon for our Sylvie, obviously. And because they are level 6 monsters, they line up neatly with going into our level 8s and our level 10s in whiteforest, especially when we use cards like Witch of the Whiteforest to turn our level 2s into tuners to go into our level 8s. or using our Sylvie to go into level 10s. The effects of Elfnote Tinia and Elfnote Fortuna especially work well with whiteforest because they place the continuous trap from your hand or deck face up on the field for Elfnote Fortuna, and then Tinia places the Elfnote continuous spell. So both Elfnote Tinia and Elfnote Fortuna are guaranteed representations of a spell and a trap if their effects resolve for your whiteforest send effects. Depending on how you open, Elfnotes can also set up a monster effect negate before your 5th summon and before you search anything, so it lets whiteforest play around deck killers like Droll and Lockbird and Nibiru. Now, Elfnotes aren't completely unstoppable. They do have some weaknesses in the archetype as well. First and foremost, the Elfnote archetype, aside from Regina, all of their effects are ignition effects and not triggered off their normal or special summon. The Elfnotes are pretty weak going second or playing into well-established boards already. Elfnotes also play pretty poorly into popular hand traps like Perulia coming out of the sideboard in games 2 and 3. And if you are playing through a Mulcharmy for Willows, you're giving your opponent at least 2 or 3 draws at minimum. But if we do manage to avoid those 2 Mulcharmies, the boards that Elfnote's Whiteforest makes are absolutely unbreakable, as we get to set up multiple negates both for monster effects and spell and traps, as well as a slew of other powerful synchro monsters to interact with our opponent. Okay, so to start us off, we have our Elfnote engine with Elfnote Lucina at 3 copies, Elfnote Tinia at 3, 1 Elfnote Fortuna, 1 Elfnote Regina. Now, once we get Chaos Origins in July, I believe, with the brand new Elfnote level 10 synchro, Regina will probably be bumped up to 3 copies. But as of right now, Elfnote doesn't really have anything good to synchro into that is a level 10 during the opponent's turn. But she's still very good as a form of disruption by specialing out your Elfnote Lucina or your Tinia or your Fortuna and switching the monster zones to get their disruption effects. Then we are on the 1 Elfnote Power Patron, and then for our Elfnote Tinia place, we have the Elfnote's Welcome Home. Elfnote's Welcome Home, I didn't go over earlier, allows you to send a monster from your hand or field to the graveyard, then special summon 1 Elfnote monster with a different attribute from your deck. Now, this does lock you into synchros for the turn, but that is not a problem with our build of Whiteforest. And then the continuous trap that we're placing with Elfnote Fortuna is the Elfnote's Rhapsody of Madness. Rhapsody of Madness allows you to send a monster from your hand or field to the graveyard, then special summon an Elfnote monster from the graveyard. And then if you control a synchro monster, Elfnote's Rhapsodia is a non-targeting face-up negate. So it is a pretty sizable Elfnote package, and the reason for that is because we can bridge with the Elfnotes alone. We can bridge into our Whiteforest engine, but unfortunately right now our Whiteforest cannot bridge directly into Elfnotes. The only thing that we can search is the Elfnote Fortunas for the Rhapsody of Madness, which is still an interruption and still a negate. As of right now, we do not have access to the full Elfnote line like OCG has, where they can go into OSS. Because of that, our Whiteforest engine of 3 LZ, 3 Sylvie, and 1 LZ Azamina the Whiteforest is a very small engine. It is very supplemental to the Elfnotes themselves, but this is all the Whiteforest main deck names that you need. LZ being our best extender and sometimes our best starter, Sylvie our best normal summon, and then LZ Azamina as our extender and giving us a search of a Sinful Spoils. We have the Diabel's the White Witch and the Diabel Star Vengeance package in here. Now, I know there are some builds running around of this deck that is also playing not only the Sinful Spoils package of Azamina engine, but also fitting in the Dark Magician of Destruction package as well, since you are playing multiple Diabel Stars in that package. Unfortunately, in my testing, I found while that build is very good and gives you a lot to do, it is also very inconsistent. And because the Elfnotes lock you into synchros for the turn, if you start with something like an Elfnote Tinium or any of your Elfnotes into like Elfnote Welcome Home or your Strelitzia, then you are locked out of making your Azaminas for the turn. You're locked out of making fusions. So you can't even go into like Dmod or Azamina, Illisylvia, things like that. So I found it in testing much better to just make a pure synchro focused variant version of this deck. Also, if we are playing a synchro version of this deck, we don't have to worry about being locked out of darks as much. So we get to play our 3 copies of Witch of the Whiteforest unimpeded. This now becomes an amazing starter because any Elfnote Lucina or Elfnote Tinia plus a Witch of the Whiteforest is full board. This is our best 1-card starter for the Whiteforest engine. We have our 1 Tails. We have a Sinful Spoils of the Whiteforest. This is going to be our search off of Azamina LZ the majority of the time. If we already have access to this card, then we are just searching out the Diabell Star Vengeance. But this is also not only an extender for the deck, because we are basically always going to have a Illusion Fiend or Spellcaster type of monster on our field, but it is also a form of disruption when we get to fuse from our extra deck during our opponent's turn. We have our 1 Woes of the Whiteforest. This is just to up the track count. I honestly don't think this card is very good in this format right now, but we do need more spells and traps in the deck for our Diabell Star Vengeance. We have the Curse of Diabell and the Philia Diabell for that Diabell Star package. For our non-engine, we are on 3 Mulcharmy Folos. This is pretty standard for any deck. 3 Ash Blossom for our opponent's Mulcharmies. Now we are on 2 Perulia, but this is going to change during the Blazing Dominion format. We're going to go up to 3 brand new hand trap, the Harmonia, as we will tune the extra deck to have send targets for that. 2 Forbidden Droplet, 1 Triple Tactics Talent, and 1 Call by the Grave to make it an even 40 card list. For the extra deck, we have 1 Poplar of the Whiteforest, 1 TG Hyper Librarian. This is our bridge into Whiteforest from the Elfnote package. We have our Whiteforest package with Rasilia and Silvera. For our level 7s, we have our Black Rose Dragon. This has been pretty decent going second. Honestly, this would probably be the first thing I look to cut, as it hasn't come up as often as I would like. It does have a fun. We have our Zalin the Shackled Dragon to summon off of our Diabell Queen of the Whiteforest. And then we have our level 7 FA Dawn Dragster. This is a spell trap negate that we can get to pretty easily during our full combos. Elfnote Seraphim Strelitzia is our extender for Elfnotes. And then our level 8 Diabell Queen of the Whiteforest to round out that Whiteforest package. I alluded to this earlier, but we have the level 8 Crystal Wing Synchro Dragon. If we open Tinia, we can make this as our 5th summon and before we search anything, so it does play around both Droll and Nibiru. For our level 10s, we are on a Fabled Lazable. This is probably one of the most flexible slots, but you do want some level 10s to make off of your Power Patron or off of your Elfnotes with like Sylvie. And if you are locked into darks with your field spell, you wouldn't be able to make Chaos Angel. So the main reason why is it's something that we can make a level 10 to get Elfnote Fortuna and like a Sylvie off the board into a level 10. That's still a negate and still very powerful as it steals your opponent's normal summon basically. Our last synchro is our level 10 Snake Eyes Minions Dragon. Then we are on a Doom Dragon and a Guardian Chimera for our Sinful Spoils of the Whiteforest target. So I want to show you a couple of combos with the Elfnote engine. Okay, so for this first combo, I just want to show you off a 1.5 card starter that just requires Lucina, can also be done with Tinia in hand, and any 1 monster in your hand as a send. But we are going to start off by specialing out this Elfnote Lucina. We're going to go Elfnote Lucina effect to add us our Elfnote Regina from our deck. And now we're going to send that Elfnote Lucina to special summon out this Elfnote Regina. Regina on summon is going to special summon out any other Elfnote in defense position, and we're going to special summon out the Elfnote Tinia. Now we can go Tinia effect to place our Elfnote's Welcome Home. Now we can go Elfnote's Welcome Home effect to send this Elfnote Tinia from our field to the graveyard to special summon out our Elfnote Power Patron. Now with a 6 and a 1 on the field, we can synchro these 2 off to special summon out our Elfnote Seraphim Strelitzia. And we can go Chainlink 1 Regina add back to our hand, Chainlink 2 Elfnote Strelitzia to target our Elfnote Power Patron to special summon it back from the field. Now, we are going to use the level modulation of Elfnote Seraphim Strelitzia to turn itself into a level 4. So we have a level 1 and a level 4 to synchro off into our TG Hyper Librarian. Now, we are going to use the effect of Elfnote Power Patron to add us any Elfnote from our deck. So we are going to add us our Elfnote Fortuna. Since our center main monster zone is now clear, we can special summon that Elfnote Fortuna. Go Fortuna effect to place the Elfnote's Rhapsody of Madness. And this is where that extra send comes into play, as now we'll go the effect of Rhapsody of Madness, sending that Mulcharmy Folos or anything that's not a fire, so it can't be an Ash Blossom, to special summon back for a third time that Elfnote's Power Patron. Now with a 1 and a 5 on the field, we can synchro these two off into our Resilia. And now we have bridged completely into our whiteforest line. And since we've used both effects of our spell and our trap, and we can get them back later in our combo, we can go ahead and use Resilia effect, sending Elfnote's Welcome Home to add us our normal summon, since we haven't used that yet during our combo, of Sylvia of the White Forest. Now we can normal summon our Sylvie effect to add us our field spell. And before we lock ourselves into the darks, now we have two choices here. We can either synchro into our Chaos Angel before we're locked into darks, or we can synchro into our fabled Lazy Lesbel if we want the different interaction. If we want to play more defensive and protect our board, we can just go into the Chaos Angel as a light, making our synchros unaffected by monster effects like Nibiru and things like that. So for the sake of the combo, let's just do the Chaos Angel for that protection effect. Now we will go Witch of the White Forest here to lock ourselves out of darks. Witch of the White Forest is going to add us our Elzette. And now we can send the Witch of the White Forest here for the Elzette. Elzette is going to add us our Diabelle's the White Witch. And then we can finally synchro these two off into our Diabelle. Diabelle effect to add us back any one spell or trap from our graveyard. It doesn't really matter here since we don't have the tails. Since we're just showing off a 1.5 card combo, for the sake, we'll just grab the Witch of the White Forest. We'll just send it again. If you want complete value, you can just summon the Diabelles before you summon the Diabelle, sending off the Rhapsody of Madness and adding the Rhapsody of Madness back. So that's probably a cleaner line. But we will go that Diabelle's the White Witch here, sending off that Witch of the White Forest yet again. Diabelle's the White Witch is going to send our Curse. Curse is then going to add us our Philia. And now Philia is going to add us our Diabelle Star Vengeance. And finally, we can end the combo by banishing a spell and a trap to special summon out that Diabelle Star Vengeance. So for this combo, we're going to just be doing another 1.5 card combo with Elfnote Tinia this time. So we are going to special summon our Elfnote Tinia, and then we're going to go effect of Elfnote Tinia to place from our deck the Elfnote's Welcome Home. Elfnote's Welcome Home effect, we're going to send that monster in your hand as long as it is not a fire attribute monster, so it can't be Ash Blossom, but we'll send that Folos from for the Elfnote's Welcome Home to special summon out that Elfnote's Power Patron. Now we will synchro into our level 7, into our Strelitzia. Now we can go Strelitzia effect, summon back that Elfnote's Power Patron. Again, you can level modulate here into the level 5. We will go into that TG Hyper Librarian. Now we'll go Elfnote Power Patron effect to search. We will add the Elfnote Regina. Now, since we've used the effect of Elfnote's Welcome Home, we can send that Elfnote's Welcome Home to special summon out that Regina. Then we can go Regina effect to special summon out the Elfnote Fortuna. We can go Fortuna effect to place the Elfnote's Madness Rhapsodia. And we can use the effect to send that Fortuna to special summon back that Elfnote's Power Patron. Now we'll synchro into our level 6, into our Resilia. And now we have a full whiteforest combo again. Now let's say we've opened our starter of Witch of the Whiteforest to get into our whiteforest line already. So we don't need to go into that bridge for the TG Hyper Librarian. We're still going to special summon out that Elfnote Tinia. Elfnote Tinia is going to place that Elfnote's Welcome Home from our deck onto the field. Then we're going to go effect of Elfnote's Welcome Home, sending the Mulcharmy Fulwolos. Again, anything that is not a fire attribute from your hand, you can send to special summon out that Elfnote Power Patron. We are going to synchro these two off into our level 7, into our Strelitzia. And now we will go effect of Strelitzia to special summon out that Elfnote Power Patron yet again. We will synchro one more time. This time we are not going to level modulate. We are just going to keep it a level 7 and a level 1. And we are going to go into a Crystal Wing Synchro Dragon. Now we are insulated from both Droll and Nibiru. So now we can go effect of Elfnote Power Patron, since it was used as synchro material, to search any Elfnote name. We will go ahead and search out that Regina, since we want her in rotation as much as possible to have a form of interaction during our opponent's turn. We can go Elfnote Regina effect to special summon, sending that Elfnote's Welcome Home. We will go Elfnote Regina effect on summon to special summon. We will special summon the Elfnote Lucina from the deck. And then we can go Elfnote Lucina effect to search out our Elfnote Fortuna. And we'll just hold in our hand for later. Now we can go our Witch of the Whiteforest here to add us any of our whiteforest names. Let's add us our LZ here. We will go effect of LZ to special summon, sending that Witch of the Whiteforest immediately to add us our Sylvie. We still have not normal summoned this turn, so now we can normal summon our Sylvie, and then Sylvie effect to add us our Whiteforest spell and trap, so we can just add us our Tails for another extender. Let's synchro them off into our level 6, into our Resilia. Now we can go Resilia effect, send the Tails to add us our LZ Azamina of the Whiteforest. Tails is going to reset itself. We will go effect of LZ to special summon itself. Now we will synchro these two off into our level 8, the Diabell. We can go Diabell effect now to add back any of our spells and traps. So our Elfnote Welcome Home if we want follow-up for next turn, Witch of the Whiteforest if we want follow-up for next turn. You can also, before you summon Diabell, you can also just activate the Tails to add back the Tails for a free send. Okay, so now to clear off our center main monster zones, we can go effect of Sylvie in the graveyard, shuffling back our Resilia to special summon that Sylvie. And then we can use the Sylvie and the Regina to summon out a level 10 in our fabled Lezibel. And since we used Regina to synchro, we get to add Regina back to our hand. Now with our center main monster zone cleared, we can special summon out Fortuna. Fortuna effect to place the Elfnote's Rhapsody of Madness from our deck. Now we can go Elfnote's Rhapsody of Madness, tributing or sending the Elfnote Fortuna to special summon out yet again that Elfnote's Power Patron. Now with a 1 and a 6 on the field, we can synchro these two off again to summon our FA Dawn Dragster. Finally, we can use our Tales of the Whiteforest here, add our Diabell's the White Witch, special summon out that Diabell's White Witch, sending the Witch of the Whiteforest from our hand or any spell and trap that's a blank. Diabell's the White Witch is going to send from deck to graveyard our Curse of Diabell. Curse of Diabell is then going to add us our Philia Diabell, and then Philia Diabell is going to add us our Diabell Star Vengeance. Now finally, we can banish a spell and a trap to special summon out that Diabell Star Vengeance. So while most of your hands with this deck are very well insulated into Nibiru, as you can make a Crystal Wing Synchro Dragon before your 5th summon or on exactly your 5th summon, I wanted to show off a line through Nibiru, as it does make us have to make a sort of half board, but depending on what you open, You can completely bait out a Nibiru on your 5th summon before you get into a Crystal Wing Synchro Dragon, forcing out their Nibiru before you even use your White Forest engine. So if we were to play a little bit suboptimally and playing into a Nibiru, we would start with Elfnote Tinia. Elfnote Tinia is going to place that Elfnote's Welcome Home. Then we're going to immediately send that Elfnote Tinia to special summon from our deck Elfnote Regina into our center main monster zone. This is going to trigger the Regina, since she has been special summoned in that center main monster zone, to special summon out our Power Patron. Now this is our 3rd summon, so we are going to synchro these two off into our Strelitzia, and we're gonna go chain link 1 Power Patron to search from deck an Elfnote, and chain link 2 to block with Regina to add back to our hand. And we're going to search out the Fortuna with that Power Patron. So now we can go Elfnote Strelitzia to summon back the Power Patron. And now your opponent has to Nibiru here because a 1 and a 7 is our Crystal Wing Synchro Dragon. So if they were to Nibiru here and summon a Nibiru token into that center main monster zone, now we start with our White Forest. So any White Forest starter, could be Sylvie, could be the field spell, could be the Elzette, will get us to this same result. Sylvie is going to get normal summoned. Sylvie is then going to add us our field spell. Since we don't care about the lock out of darks, since we're already locked into synchros, we're going to activate that field spell now. That field spell is going to add us our Elzette. Now we can go effective Elzette to special summon herself, and we can synchro these two off into our level 6, into our Resilia. So now we can go Elzette chainlink 1 to search out a Sinful Spoils, Resilia chainlink 2 to search our White Forest, or you can reorder it depending on what you want to play around. But we will send that Witch of the White Forest, and we will add from deck to hand our Elzette for the Resilia search, and for the Sinful Spoils search we will get the Sinful Spoils of the White Forest. Now we can use the effect of Sinful Spoils to special summon a spellcaster from our hand. Since we control a spellcaster on the field, we will special out that Fortuna. Fortuna is going to activate her effect to place the Elfnote's Rhapsody of Madness on the field. Now we can go effect of Rhapsody of Madness, sending that Fortuna to then special summon from our graveyard the Elfnote's Power Patron. Now the Nibiru token is a level 11 and the Power Patron is a level 1, so we can actually synchro off with this Nibiru token to make our Snake Eyes Vengeance Dragon. Since we've used the effect of Elfnote's Welcome Home, we can send it with the Elzette. Now we'll use the effect of Elzette to add us our Diabels. Now we can synchro summon using these two monsters into our level 8 Diabel. On synchro summon, Diabel is going to add us back our Sinful Spoils of the White Forest for another form of interaction. Since we never used the send effect of a Sinful Spoils of the White Forest to reset itself, we will special summon out the Diabels the White Witch, sending that Sinful Spoils of the White Forest. And we will go chainlink 1 Diabels the White Witch to send from deck, chainlink 2 Sinful Spoils of the White Forest to set itself. We will send the Curse. Curse will send the Filia, and the Curse will add the Filia, and then the Filia will add us our Diabel Star Vengeance. We will wrap it up by banishing a spell and a trap for that Diabel Star Vengeance. So another popular hand trap that you're going to be going against that you need to know how to play around is Mulcharmy Fualos. Now Mulcharmy Fualos is going to hamper the end board of this deck quite a bit, but we can still make quite a few forms of interaction by only giving them maybe 1 or 2 draws. So let's say our opponent has Mulcharmy Fualos. Into our worst starter for Fualos, Elfnote Tinia. So we will special summon Elfnote Tinia here. Tinia is then going to place the Elfnote's Welcome Home, And we will go Elfnote's Welcome Home effect to send a monster from our hand to the graveyard. That's a different attribute. And they would Fuwalos us here. So the best situation, the best scenario that I can probably come up with right now, if we want to limit as few draws as possible, is just special summoning out the Elfnote Lucina. They would get 1 draw with this special summon. Then we would go Elfnote Lucina effect to add us our Power Patron. Now we can normal summon the Power Patron, and we would synchro summon with these 2. Now you can either choose, depending on what you're going to be playing against, to either level modulate with the Elfnote Power Patron to make a level 10. In the OCG, this is where they would just make a Baron to floor and pass on that, which is really good. Unfortunately, we do not have access to that. But if you were playing against something, like depending on the rest of your hand, obviously, if you are more so worried about a monster effect, you could level modulate and make a level 10 into the Levied Lazabel and steal their normal summon. Or if we are worried about a spell or trap extension, we can just synchro summon into our level 7 FA Dawn Dragster. Now this would give them their 2nd draw with the Fuwalos, but now we can go Elfnote Power Patron effect to add from deck to hand, or Elfnote Fortuna, and then we can just special summon our Elfnote Fortuna, and Elfnote Fortuna is going to place the Rhapsody of Madness. So by giving them 2 draws with Fuwalos, we have a non-targeting face-up negate with Rhapsody of Madness by sending one of our elf notes and special summoning back. Fortuna is a spell and trap bounce. Lucina is a level 6 or lower monster bounce. And then if we're summoning back the Tinia with the Rhapsody of Madness, we get to hand rip them for 1, as well as having the FA Dawn Dragster here for a spell and trap negate. Another option that we can do if our opponent has Fuwalos and we have access to both of our engines, we would still give them 1 or 2 draws, but we could still make a little bit more pointed interaction. We would have the Elfnote Tinia here. Tinia would place that Elfnote's Welcome Home. Now we can go Elfnote's Welcome Home effect, sending the spare monster from our hand to the graveyard. And this is where they would Fuwalos us here again. So now, since we have access to our Whiteforest engine, instead of summoning the Lucina, we would just special summon the Power Patron. So they get the 1 draw for this. Or now we can go synchro summon these 2 off to summon out either that FA Dawn Dragster or Strelitzia. But to give them as few draws as possible, we'll just go FA Dawn Dragster here. We'll go effect of Power Patron to add us our Elfnote Fortuna. Now we can go effect of Witch to add us our normal summon and Sylvie. We can normal summon Sylvie, get the tails, activate the tails for Elzat Azamina. Now we'll go effect of Elzat Azamina to special summon herself. Now we will give them their 2nd draw by synchroning these 2 off into our Resilia. And we can go Resilia Chainlink 1, sending a Witch of the White Forest, Elzat Chainlink 2 to add a Sinful Spoils into Chain Block. We'll add that Sinful Spoils of the White Forest, and we will add with the Resilia our Woes of the White Forest. So now we will special summon out that Fortuna. That Fortuna is going to place the Rhapsody of Madness. And here we can set our final 2 cards of the Woes and the Sinful Spoils of the White Forest. All right, so in a short summary or conclusion, Elfnote is going to be a very powerful engine to include in the White Forest archetype, allowing us to focus not only on just the synchro monsters, but also get to play powerful hand traps like the Phaedralis Harmonia that's coming out as well in Blazing Dominion. But Elfnote is also great at supplementing the White Forest engine by providing us spells and traps to send for the White Forest effects, as well as being able to eat early interaction, eat early hand traps like Ash Blossoms, Imperms, Effect Failures, things like that, to insulate our White Forest combos later on. Again, if you found this video helpful, or if you have any questions, comments, concerns, anything like that, let me know down in the comments below. I'm going to continue cooking with this deck, obviously, with Blazing Dominion on the horizon. I still need to play test with the Harmonia cards, see what kind of ratios we need to make for the deck to include that card, but also with the other wave of support coming in Chaos Origins in July. The deck is also going to be subject to change with that, as we are getting another powerful level 10 synchro for Elfnotes to help us play on the opponent's turn 0 as well. So that all being said, Catters, I hope you enjoyed this video, and as always, good night.